Hello everybody, this is the thejonnymar right here, and welcome to my latest subscriber special. So recently my channel hit 50,000 total views, and to kind of commemorate that achievement I wanted to do a subscriber special as a way of saying thank you to all of you for the support. I'm going in a little bit of a different direction this time, and that is showing off my PlayStation 1 collection. So many of you know I am a retro gamer, and so I figured I would show off all of the actual PlayStation 1 games that I have. And first in line is Ark the Lad Collection, which is a kind of complete collection that was done by Working Designs back in the day. So I have this box set right here in front of you. You can see the awesome little graphical work here on the back. And this includes all of the Ark the Lad games of the time anyway. Ark the Lad 1, 2, 3, and Arena. And you can actually open up the front cover of this, and it'll give you a little bit of a description of what exactly is going on inside of here. So you can see it's 6 discs in total. You get some little standees, you get a little kind of hardbound book that's the instruction manual, and so on and so forth. So one of the wonderful packagings that Working Designs did for kind of a really cool game that they brought over during the PlayStation 1 era. And I do have most of these for the different games that they did, so I'll be showing off a couple of the better known games in a little bit when we get to the L's, because I am doing this in chronological order, alphabetical order. So that is Ark the Lad Collection. For my next game, we're going to jump ahead here to the D's, and it is Dragon Warrior 7. That's right, not Dragon Quest, because at this time they hadn't changed it to Quest here in America. It was still Dragon Warrior. And this is an interesting game. I actually ordered 2 of these from GameStop because one of them came without the case, and so I ended up ordering another copy back before I discovered eBay. And so I ended up getting a complete version, and all of these games are complete. If I didn't get them initially as complete, I did go back and get kind of the case and the instructions and all that eventually. But I haven't actually finished this game yet. I've played through the first half of the game, and I do want to eventually get to it because I do love all of the Dragon Quest / Warrior games. They are really fun to play. Alright, so next up we have Final Fantasy Anthology. Now, this was the first time I was ever able to play Final Fantasy V, because I think it was the first time it was released in America. The United States, that is. It's a collection of Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI. Pretty awesome. It includes some brand new cutscenes and FMV for Final Fantasy VI. And it also comes with a soundtrack, which I've used on many occasions in my videos, the music from. The bad thing about it is it does have load times that are increased, especially after battles. So it's not a version of the game I like to play very often, but I did get it again for the soundtrack and also for Final Fantasy V, which I had never played up to that point. So it was a wonderful little addition to my collection. Now you're going to notice when I skip to my next game that I do not have any other physical copies of Final Fantasy games, and that is because Squaresoft recently did a sale on PSN and sold a bunch of the Final Fantasy games for very cheap, so I ended up selling off my different games and getting them in digital form. But the next game is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, which is my favorite game that is an RPG of all time. Number 2 only to Zelda: A Link to the Past. And this is the boxed set, the complete edition that Working Designs put out way back when. Kind of hard to find, at least the box set version. You can find just the I think they did a reprinting of just the game itself later on, but this is the original printing. And I've played this game many times. I finish it at least once or twice a year. Outstanding music, great nostalgic graphics, etc. And like Ark the Lad, it's got a little pull open here on the front cover. You can see what it comes with: a bunch of discs, a hardbound instruction manual, and a map. And then it also has a extra disc that comes with, like, you know, outtakes from the actors, the songs, etc. Just an outstanding kind of nostalgic old school RPG. Including one of my favorite villains in the kind of RPG that I've ever played. But I'm not going to spoil that because someday I will be LPing this, and so I don't want to reveal who the ultimate baddie is for those of you that haven't played the game. And this one's actually cool because Alex there on the front, who's the Dragon Master, is actually protruding a little bit from the box. But as you might expect, considering I like Lunar so much, I did get the sequel as well, which is Lunar 2 Eternal Blue, complete again. This took forever for Working Designs. They were infamous for delaying their projects months and sometimes years. But this is the direct sequel of sorts to the original Lunar. And we still haven't gotten Lunar 3, and probably never will, but maybe someday. Characters are a little bit different in this version, and they added a really awesome epilogue after the game, which is pretty long, like about 8 hours to 10 hours that you can do. But like the first game, and also like Arc the Lad, this box set comes with a bunch of extras, and you can pull it open and look inside to kind of see what's included with it. So why don't we do that? Get a little bit of the artwork here. It came with a map again, another hardbound kind of set. I think some character standees, and it also came with the main heroine in the game, Lucia, or Lucia, came with her pendant, which is important to the storyline. So you can see, again, quality of my webcam not the greatest, so you're probably not going to be able to actually read what it says, but I'm just kind of trying to show you guys very briefly kind of what they look like. Haven't beaten this as much as Lunar 1, but have beaten it a couple of times, and it's a pretty good game. Not quite up to Silver Star standards, but a decent game. Next up, Metal Gear Solid, a game I've already Let's Played on my alternate channel. Outstanding game I beat many times. Kind of the first action game, non-RPG, that I really got into on the PS1. Before that, I had really only played RPGs. So this game kind of sent me off in a brand new direction. Adventure / stealth / action. But complete set. And for those of you that haven't checked it out already, you can check out my LP of this on my alternate channel, which is LPs by Johnny. You can find that on my main channel page as a featured channel. And I would like to include some music or something from this, but we all know Konami is infamous for copyright claiming stuff on YouTube, so I'm including some music with this video from kind of remixes of various games, and I'm not going to be including any Metal Gear Solid. Now this next game's a little unusual, and many of you probably haven't heard of it, and that is Overblood. This is a kind of survival horror game that tries to be Resident Evil and Silent Hill and a lot of the others of the era, and doesn't really succeed very well. It's not the greatest game, and the reason I own it is because GameInformer.com, which is one of my favorite websites to go to, did a super replay of this game, and it was amazing. I love that super replay quite a bit. And so I bought this game as a result of that playthrough, and I played through it myself. And so someday I will do my own Let's Play of it. But for now, you guys can bask in the glory of Overblood. And the green cover here, again a complete edition. This game is very weird. It tries to do a lot of things and doesn't really achieve any of them very well. Let's just put it that way. But it can be a fun game. Alright, so next up we have Resident Evil Director's Cut, another game that I have LP'd. This is the version that comes with the Resident Evil 2 demo that I've also done a video special of, kind of showing that off. But this game I've also beat many times. It is the first survival horror game I ever played. One of the highest rated games in the series ever. Classic to this day. I've done both Jill and Chris's scenario on my channel. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, please do so. I quite enjoyed playing through the game. rated the best PlayStation game overall back in 96 or 97, whenever it came out. And unfortunately, the instruction manual that came with this version of the game had a coupon where you could get a certain amount of money off of Resident Evil 2 when it came out. And I bought it used, and someone had cut that coupon out, so now I have a big hole in the back of the instruction book where the coupon used to be. Alright, next up, shockingly, Resident Evil 2, which is my favorite Resident Evil game. Man, I've beaten this game many times, and I am really looking forward to LPing this game come this fall. So, this Halloween, I'm going to start my playthrough of Resident Evil 2. I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to start with Leon or Claire, but I envision I will probably end up doing all 4 scenarios eventually. Probably not in a row or anything like that, but this game is just so amazing. It took the formula kind of established in the first game and just improved on absolutely everything about the game. And so I enjoy kind of exploring Raccoon City, the police station, the underground factory, the sewers, all sorts of wonderful things in this game. And I do kind of prefer Leon's scenario over Claire's, but they're both definitely very interesting and enjoyable. So yeah, can't wait for this fall. It's going to be a great time actually playing through this game. Next up is Suikoden. And this is a very, very old school RPG. Many of you have probably heard of it. The classic collect 108 stars and take on a generic baddie. Done by Konami again, back in the day. One of their few role-playing game franchises. And, utilizes a pretty awesome rune system for magic. And again, a kind of town building mechanic where you have to collect all of these stars of destiny. Now, I love the Suikoden series. I have all 5 games plus Suikoden Tactics in my collection. I do have the physical versions of all of them. And so at some point I will be going through that whole series in the future. But for now you can check out Suikoden, the physical version. It looks like it's multiple discs, but it's actually only one. That was kind of something that happened at that time. Companies would put out these kind of big packaging for PlayStation games that made it look like you would get a ton of discs, when really you didn't. You only got one. But since I have all games in the series, I do have also the ultra rare and valuable Suikoden 2. Now, this game is worth quite a bit. I had to pay, geez, I want to say $20 to get Suikoden 2 and 1 together. About 5 or 6 years ago is when I got them. And so that was off of eBay, and it's very hard to find a copy for under $100 these days. Now obviously Suikoden 1 you can get off of PSN, but at that time it was going for around $40 to $50, because again, it's pretty rare. This game is pretty awesome. It's a little overrated because of the rarity of it, but it has one of the greatest kind of final bosses or bosses in any series I've ever played. It's got an awesome kind of transfer where you can carry your characters over to this game from the first game and get some benefits from it. And again, kind of an awesome town building mechanic where you try to collect all of these stars of destiny. So I'm looking forward to getting to that game eventually as well. You can see the hero there posing all heroically on the front. Next up, we have Tactics Ogre, the only game in the Ogre Battle series I've ever played or owned. And this is a kind of precursor. This was the game that influenced my favorite Final Fantasy game quite a bit, which is Final Fantasy Tactics. And kind of served as the engine in a lot of ways for that game. So it has a lot of the elements from that game in it. Very long game. You can easily put 100 hours into this. Multiple branching storylines where you can kind of play as a good person, which is called, what is it, lawful, or a evil person, which is called chaotic, or you can kind of get in between the two and be a neutral person. But this game, massive, and kind of like, again, Final Fantasy Tactics has a really long kind of optional dungeon that you can do, which is really awesome. And I don't know if I'll ever get to this game because of the length of it, but maybe someday. And I'm very interested in the PSP remake of it, which I heard was pretty awesome, so I might have to try out that version. Next up, recent purchases from Goodwill for $1 a piece, and that is Tomb Raider. The original Tomb Raider, a greatest hits green band version. So it was pretty awesome to see these at Goodwill for $1 a piece, in pretty good shape. Sometimes a killer body just isn't enough. Yeah, so you probably are all aware of the infamous Lara Croft series, kind of how it started out, people wanting the nude code, which doesn't exist, and all that. I have not played any of these games. But along with Tomb Raider 1, they also had Tomb Raider 2, again for $1, complete. So I purchased that one as well. So again, I haven't played it. I've heard it's pretty awesome in terms of the exploration, kind of ruins, caves, things like that. The back has Lara Croft in her swimsuit, which I accidentally covered up with my thumb. I apologize for those of you checking that out, if you can see it. But yeah, that's the Tomb Raider series. You know, it kind of fell on hard times. They did a reboot of it. And I don't know if I'll ever play these. I basically just bought them because they were $1. So that's about it. That's what Tomb Raider is to me. Those of you that have played it, I've heard some people really like the series. Second to last of my discs is Vandal Hearts, one of my kind of guilty pleasure strategy RPGs. Again, this is a game series I don't think a lot of people have heard of. I think there's 2 or 3 of them. I think there was 2 for the PlayStation, and then they made another one for Xbox 360, I think, recently. But this game, very classic kind of strategy RPG, a very interesting storyline, and very gory. Anytime you kill anybody, you get this huge fountain of blood that shoots out of them, which is really awesome. Nice branching kind of classes that you can use. Another Konami game in their kind of RPG line of using multiple disc packaging for one disc. But a really fun game, and I find myself going back and playing it pretty frequently, actually. Underappreciated, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of interesting elements, too, in terms of the battles and victory conditions, which I think a lot of RPGs don't use too much. It's kind of the standard kill all enemies or survive a number of turns, and they try to do some unique stuff in that game. And my last disc copy is another rare game, which is Valkyrie Profile. Now, I've played this one about halfway through again. Pretty rare. It's going to run you about $50 or so, a little bit higher, depending on the condition on eBay. They did redo it for the PSP, I think. So you can get a copy there if you just want to play the game. And they continue the series, I think, on the PS2 with Valkyrie Profile 2 some S word. But interesting game. Use the different buttons on the controller to do attacks. Kind of as a combo system for fights. And interesting story of sending kind of warriors up to fight kind of Heaven's Wars. So a game that's kind of never really grabbed me too much, but definitely I do want to play it eventually. But that is about it for my disc copies. The rest of my collection is going to be kind of digital or downloaded versions of games that I got on PSN. And so what I will do is switch over to my PS3 and show those off. Alright. So let's scroll down here and grab my PlayStation folder. And we're going to start off with Legend of Dragoon, apparently. So I'm not going to be doing these in alphabetical order. Now, this was a Sony-generated RPG, I think, at the time, which was supposed to be a Final Fantasy killer. It didn't. I think it sold all right, but it's a very ambitious project, and I like it a lot, despite its shortcomings. good graphics for the time, an interesting combat system with the, what are they called, additions that you have to use by kind of timing a la Super Mario RPG or Paper Mario as you're fighting. A fun kind of magic system with the Dragoon abilities, and it's a very long game. It's 4 discs and quite a while. And the second game is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. One of my least favorite in the main series. I do like it. It's worth playing, but not up there with Resident Evil 1, 2, even Code Veronica X or 4 actually, which are the ones I've played. But definitely an interesting element with the whole Nemesis chasing you kind of at all times, that sense of desperation as you're trying to escape and things like that. I'll be doing that one a year from this Halloween as I continue the series. And here we have, of course, Final Fantasy VII, the game that actually got me to buy a PlayStation 1 in the first place. Final Fantasy at this time did serve as the game that propelled me forward with new consoles. So I got a PS1 to get this game, and I played it many, many times. I've beaten it 100%. I have beaten Emerald, Ruby, Sephiroth, gotten all my characters to 99. I'm going to absolutely enjoy doing an LP of this game, a complete walkthrough at some point, but it is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. In fact, of main series, I would put it at number 3, just behind Final Fantasy VI and also Final Fantasy IV. So definitely a classic. Of course, I have Final Fantasy VIII as well. Not one of my favorites in the series. It's grown on me over the years. I've had a hard time kind of getting into it initially. And it really took forcing myself to play it for me to actually beat it. I hate the draw system. I think it's the worst thing ever invented. But I love the card game. And so when I learned you could use cards to acquire magic, and you didn't have to fight because of the kind of leveling system and the junction system, that got me into the game. And I like the storyline. I think it's interesting, although a little convoluted. And, you know, I'd put it up there now as one of my favorites in the series, although not initially. Now, 9, on the other hand, I want to like 9 a lot. Okay? But I don't. I like the music. I like the characters. I like the graphics. The battles are way too slow. There's so much lag and loading and slowdown in the game. The encounter rate is so high that it just bothers the heck out of me. And the fact that there are huge portions of the game where you don't have a healer also bothers me quite a bit. So I like it, and I've played through it a couple times, but it's not one of my favorites. Now, Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite Final Fantasy game of all. Above any other Final Fantasy game. I've played this game, I don't even know, 30, 40, 50 times maybe. Of those, 20 to 25 times completely through, doing everything. I play it once to twice a year. Love it, love it, love it. My favorite strategy RPG. It is going to be a fantastic time to do a walkthrough of this game that I'm really looking forward to eventually. But for now, you know, I want to do the main series first, at least most of the games in the main series. So it's going to take a little time for me to get to Tactics, but it is going to be an awesome ride once we get there. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Again, even though the storyline is a little convoluted, it's all about the battles and the battle system. Chrono Cross, great game. Not quite up to Chrono Trigger in my opinion, but a fun game. Really good graphics, outstanding music and a soundtrack. The battle system, again, a little weird. Squaresoft was doing a lot of experimenting at this time, trying out different things with their games instead of kind of sticking with the basic JRPG formula. And so you got the weird kind of magic system where you have to build up kind of, what is it, stamina and stuff like that to cast magic, and tons of characters you can recruit. A very weird ending, kind of a weird halfway point of the game where things kind of turn on their head, but a worthwhile experience. And the final game that I have for PlayStation 1 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I have never played this game. Let me repeat that. I have never played this game. I owned it on disc. I own it on PSN, but I have never played it. And that is because I've never really played a Castlevania game before. Now I'm going to rectify that, and I'm going to play it eventually. And it's going to be very interesting when I do a blind Let's Play of this game at some point in the future, because I know tons of people love it. It's probably sacrilege of me to say I've never played it, but it just has never been something that's caught my eye. So that, my dear viewers, is my PlayStation 1 collection, both disc version and also digital version. So please, in the comments below, let me know what you thought of this video. Are there particular games in my collection that you yourself really enjoy? Are there games that are missing from my collection that you think would be great pickups for me to make? Again, thank you very much for supporting me in my channel, for helping me achieve 50,000 views. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next video. So long.